But first of all, welcome, John. When you were first approached about this job, what did what did the Blues mean to you? What did Cardiff, the reputation of Cardiff, mean to you growing up?
It's certainly a club with a long history in the game. Probably to me, probably closest to me is one of my mentor coaches, Alec Evans, coached here in the mid-90s. So he'd spoken to me of his fond memories that he had in Cardiff and told me about the place and the town and the club, and it was probably just a right mix for me to be involved in the place going forward. Were
you surprised at all to be approached?
Not really. I think this is going to be my 21st year as a professional coach. I've coached in Ireland and Australia with Super Rugby, in Japan for the last 9 seasons. So the next step for me was always to come back to Europe. So for me, it was something that we just had to tee up as a family when our youngest were finishing school this year. So if it wasn't going to be this year, next year we're definitely looking, and it's just the opportunity came at the right time for us.
And how do you strike the balance of, I guess, wanting to make your own impact, and I guess building and not wanting to undo too much of the work, the good work that's just taken place?
Yeah, I think some coaches can make the probably wrong decision of coming in and changing everything. For me, there's just 3 things. It's about keep, stop and start. So keep doing the things that have worked really well for the group. Stop doing some of the things that not allow them to make a difference on or off field. So look at those type of things and those areas of where we could be better, and then start doing things. So obviously we can't just go up with the same type of game plans and the same type of game. So the things that we need to change and start doing on field, which is going to allow us to have further success in the next competition.
If I could ask Richard, there's a strange period, I guess, for the Blues, isn't it? A lot of stability on the field, squad remaining very much the same, a lot of changes off the field. How are you sort of managing, a whole new coaching staff? Obviously, Peter Thomas, man at the top, is leaving as well. A lot going on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm confident, obviously, with John's leadership, that that transitional period will be pretty smooth and seamless. The guys have, to a certain extent, have settled in already and are working hard behind the scenes on the pre-season stuff. So it doesn't concern me one bit. Obviously, Peter's news of last week, everyone's now aware of, but as a board, we stay united in our focus for the next 3 years. We've got a plan for that 3-year period. And we're going to stick to it, and the search begins to find Peter's replacement. He's going to stay on the board anyway, so still going to be in the boardroom table, helping and steering from a different position as chairman. So I'm excited about it.
Okay. And mentioned about the squad looking very similar to what I did last year. Obviously, you retained a lot of guys.
Yep.
Felice retired, Cuthbert left, but apart from that, very similar squad. But in terms of perhaps any recruitment, is John going to have funds available, or is it, I don't know if it's too late, but are there people out there who John will be allowed to go for?
Yeah, we've also been in close dialogue over the last few months, and we've already concluded some signings. We're working on a few other bits and pieces, both for this year and for next. So yeah, we're waiting to make those announcements. We'll do that in due course. But obviously we've got a squad in its majority that are going to be sticking together. We're going to strengthen that with a couple of players, and then look at next season and kicking on from there.
Matt touched on the squad there. When you look at what you've inherited, because the majority of it has been retained, there's been a lot of retention as a focus over the last year. How do you reflect on that squad, and what do you think you possibly do need still to add over the next weeks?
I think I've inherited quite a strong, settled squad. Probably our players from 1 to 5 need some backup and some reinforcements there. From 6 to 15, we've got some very class international players. So for me, our biggest change is going to come when we start on field. So at the moment, it's just a piece of paper with names. So I need to make that 3D and 4D, get that up and working, and look at different ways that we can play the game. And I'm sure that we're going to have some success with the squad we have, but with a few players to come in to help us there as well.
Would you? No, go on, Sean.
I think you're just saying how much you relish in on the sort of mantle in the in the club's return to the Champions Cup, and what did you make of the group when you saw the draw yesterday? Liverpool, sorry.
Well, it's fantastic they're back in there, and they're back in there on the back of some good performances last season. So I don't think they've been in the Champions Cup for 5 years or so. So they're back to where they need to be, and it's probably my role and the role of the team to make sure we stay there. Like we play well in the Super, in the Pro 14 to make sure we're there each year. We're excited to be back in that type of rugby. Like yesterday for me, I didn't mind what pool we were in. It's just great to be there because you're going to come up against champion teams from the different countries. So each of those bring different challenges. But for us, with the pool that we're in, we're quite happy where we are. They're all tough games, but I can see us playing Saracens home and away. You want to play against the best, and we're going to get that opportunity. And the other two teams have done very well in their respective competitions. So it's going to be tough.
It's also going to be interesting, isn't it? Seeing Glasgow on an artificial pitch, Saracens on an artificial pitch, and ourselves.
Leon better like them.
So Leon, I think, are probably doing some practice at the moment on plastic fields. So yeah, it's. I think just to reiterate what John said, it's Champions Cup. There's no easy draws, are there? But if we were. I think we're excited about it, and getting Saracens down here, for example, is great for the region. And fantastic for us to go up against a team such as themselves. So
yeah, we need to look at it as a massive opportunity for us. It's going to be a huge challenge, but a massive opportunity for us to get it right and get us back to that Premier Rugby that we need to be in.
All joking aside, John, how familiar are you with the pitch out there and the use of these types of pitches? Because as Richard just touched on, 3 in the same pool is unusual to have.
It is
so many
unusual,
plastic pitches.
I think if you ask the players where they want to play, they'd want to play on a fast surface like that, but it doesn't matter. They'd go and play in the back car park if they had an opportunity to play against the best. So for me, pitch is a pitch, whether it's grass or synthetic, really.
Mind you, that Glasgow pitch is probably harder than the car park outside.
I'm sure it would be in winter for sure.
John, when you saw the result or watched the result in Bilbao, did you think, oh, that's great, or did you think, well, the pressure's on me now?
I just thought, look, eventually these players are going to be mine, and I want my players to all succeed. So I was really happy with how they played, and you could see that I don't know a lot of the players. I've met some of them when I was here a few weeks ago. I've met a few since I've been here, and you could see that they're a really tight group, and you could see that through their last number of performances. If they weren't a tight group, they wouldn't have won against Power, and they wouldn't have come back from being down at half time as well. They had 2 injuries early on. They were down 20-6 at half time. For them to come back, it just showed to me that there's something in there, and I was encouraged by it, and definitely I want them to win.
And it was an important part of through the process in finding our new head coach. One of the big attractions for us was the enthusiasm John brings to the table in terms of the development of players, and the pleasure he gets from seeing not just success for youngsters coming through at a regional level or club level, but also to see them go on and thrive in international jerseys and Lions jerseys, and John puts a lot of stress on developing those players, which was a big factor for us, and one that we're looking forward to seeing another crop of the youngsters we've got at the moment developing further, but then continuing that development piece as well.
Does it help any? Are you aware of this new under-23 team that's being set up, and if so, touching on what Richard says, that's going to be an important addition to the framework here?
It's going to be good. I think they're players, they're not trainers, they're not gym junkies, and they're not just trainers on the field. It's important that they'll have their best learnings when they're out in the middle of the field. As many games as we can get for them, it's going to be better for them. So the competition's coming in at a really good time for us. And also I want to look to see that if we've got guys outside of the 23, that we do find them a game on a weekend, because they're going to get their best learnings playing. So it's going to be good for us. Not only for the young guys coming through, but we've got to make sure that we match that with some older heads in that team as well, to make sure they have
some success. Players occasionally.
There will be. I don't think the rules have been set there. No. I don't even think it's been called an under-23s competition anymore. It's more of a development league for us.
In terms of style of play, John, what can Cardiff Blues expect from John Mulvihill's side?
I think we saw when Cardiff moved the ball in those last series of games that they are dangerous. We haven't had the profile of the team that we could beat a team around the corner with size, so For me, the pitch is 70 metres wide, and that's where we'll be headed. You know, so the principles of the game haven't changed too much. You do need a strong set piece. You know, the go forward support, continuity and pressure. They're the basis of their game. So we'll be working on a strong set piece, getting over game line, but moving teams around rather than probably the kick and hope rugby that you see sometimes.
Have you decided on a captain for next season yet?
Not at the moment, but we've got some pretty strong candidates there. I've got to wait for the boys to get back, to sit down with them, sit down with Ganthet and sit down with a few of the players that we're thinking could be, you know, possibly be there as well. And then again, look at the leadership group that we have. It's important for me that our leadership group is just not all the old guys have been there for a long time, that we bring some younger leaders through. That's going to help them develop their game and get a better message out to not only the old players in our squad, but the whole squad.
Are you the kind of coach that sets specific targets? I want us to finish in the top 3, in the top 2, whatever. Or are you more kind of fluid and see how it goes as the season goes?
I think if you focus on looking at the ladder each week and saying where you want it to be, you're either going to be very disappointed or happy. Like, I'd rather be sort of somewhere in the middle. I want us to be, like, I would like us to go into every game wanting to win. And I'll be preparing a team, whether it's Saracens away or whether it's one of the local teams here, that we need to win every game. So if we play as well as we possibly can, then we'll be happy. I'm not going to focus on that. That's going to be a byproduct of the detail we put into each week, the winning and losing of it, and the rest of it we'll look after ourselves.
And what about this bit? The Goldfish Bowl, not this year, but people stopping you in the street or going in Tesco's and telling you what you should have done the week before. Yeah. Happy with all that?
Well, you know, I would expect if we don't play that well, I'm going to get drafted, you know, over time. But I'd also expect that if we do play well, and you do see that there's a progression in how we're trying to play, the team will be happy. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to be able to win every game. We want to go out to perform and win every game. Chances are that's not going to happen. But if we play very well and we're beaten by a better team on the day, you can accept that. I'm sure that our supporters will accept that. Those performances where you don't perform well and you get beaten in a game that you should win, they're the ones that are going to be really tough. But also, we'll win games, and I'll be filthy about it because we didn't stick to the game plan, and we didn't play as well as we could have. So, you know, for me, it's about the detail in every performance. And if you celebrate too much on a good win or you commiserate too much on a loss, you're going to lose the focus of the next game, because these games come very quickly, and if you're still going to hang over on whether it be win or loss from the game on the Saturday, you're going to lose 1 or 2 days in preparation. You'll miss out your opportunity going forward. So I've been around long enough to understand that. Super Rugby was a really good learner for me on how the caravan just moves on. So get on to your next job.
Lastly for me, what about Wales, settling in Wales? You've been around, you've played in various countries, but
yeah.
How hard is that going to be coming to a new environment like this?
I think it's a fantastic city. All the people I've met so far have been quite nice to me. I hope that continues. But yeah, it's like I've just found that being here with the people in the building, in this building and also out in the Vale, that they're very obviously really driven and team orientated. They all love Cardiff. They love rugby, and I think it's just a really good spot for me to be.
Considering the success the Wales players have had from the Blues in recent weeks, people like Ellis Jenkins, this is a huge season for them, isn't it, in terms of next year's World Cup?
I think you just need to go. You need to go back to back on those performances, which is just going to help them in good stead. An interesting thing, I met Warren Gatlin a few weeks ago, and we talked about Jared Evans, who had a really good 6 months. He'd like to see him have a good year, and so on, and not bring players forward. So for me, development in guys like Jared going forward is going to be very important. That for him to be looked at for selection going forward. So all of them have coming through. There's a really good crop of young players. I think 60-70% of our players came through 20s over the last number of years. That doesn't make them a good player. Week in and week out makes them better. So it's really important that they don't just sit in their laurels, that they do extend themselves. So we'll be looking for that every time we go on field. And ultimately for us, I want as many players as we can to be in the red jersey. Years gone by, yes, they have been. At the start of this year, we had 4, where the Scarlets had 10. There's no, for us as a group to make Cardiff better, that ultimately needs to help Welsh rugby.
When you looked at the summer tour and you saw not just Alice but a few others, Thomas Williams made strides forward, Phil and Lewis, how encouraged were you?
for them, those players, they just need the opportunity to do that. The opportunity in the next level. Obviously, they've gone through a lot of rugby in Pro 14 and so on, so they've identified at that level to move forward. So it's been really good to see those guys progress. My hope for them is when they come back to us in a few weeks' time, that they don't start back at the Pro 14 level. That if we have as many international players as possible, what it does, it brings the level of the other guys up. So I'm looking for those guys not to sit in the laurels, but to extend where they need to be.
When do they get back in, John?
They're going to have an extra week off through the regulations, through the WRU. So our squad start on the 5th and 6th. Yeah. We start as the main squad on the 9th. Those boys were due to be in on the 16th, they'll be on the 23rd.
And the coaching team, it's a pretty inexperienced coaching team. Just explain your thinking, obviously mainly Welsh. What was your thinking there?
Well, I had the opportunity in speaking to Martin Phillips and speaking to the guys here at Cardiff to bring in anyone I wanted. But for me, I was also thinking about how we develop not only the players but coaches here as well. So part of my role is to help develop the coaches and help develop the players. So in going forward, in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time, well, I can move across, bring in one of those guys through and still remain relevant within the group. So I asked the Welsh Rugby Union to identify a number of coaches who had the ability. For example, Jason Straight, he's not a young coach. He's been around with the 20s for four seasons. He's 44 years of age, but he too needed an opportunity to step up. So he's excited about that. I had meetings with him today about the little changes we'll make in our game to make us better. Tom Smith, again, very bright coach. He's, after his injury, he's been coaching not only older guys, but through the development system. It's really important that you have, like I've coached kids that are 5 and men are 65, so it's not about just finishing rugby and becoming a coach. It needs to be grounded throughout there. So the feedback I had on Dwayne Goodfield as well was that he's a really good young coach. The previous setup had a lot of time for him, so for me it's important that we bring him through. Richard Hodges has stepped out of the shadow through the Welsh Rugby Union, and again, if you looked at the way that the team defended in the last half of the season, I think they averaged 1.8 tries per game. At the start of the year, it's about 4 tries per game. He's really brought some strides in. So for me, it's about me challenging now Richard to extend and get better, and then also supporting the young coaches coming through to make them better as well.